And I have to say that the genetic model also was driven and informed and steered by the behavioral criteria. So it's a circular model. You can never get anything out of it. Impossible to get any progress, because the very one thing that you're trying to solve is what's actually driving your criteria.
So you could be more specific. It's like the ADOS and AD, it was all basically extracted from what did psychiatrists or professionals see. So it started off as a phenotype, and then it became used as the documentation that there should be a genotype to this. It was just, scientifically a circularity that doesn't make any sense.
Can you
completely circular.
Can you just say that in lay terms so that we make sure the parents know what you're saying?
That the criterion for their genetic testing of models is based upon a behavioral phenotype that was done, basically extracted from expert clinicians.
Right. So the traits that we see were used by
classify the genetics. So in other words, so what should happen, in fact, is that you take the genetics blindly and you let the data self-cluster and get the phenotypes that the genotype gives rise to, self-cluster, and tell you symptoms. But that's not what's happening. What's happening is you put the symptoms on top of that already, and you force, you force the genetics onto the symptoms. So you never get beyond, you can never get beyond this forced description, right? What you want is to create a mechanistic explanation that leads to the discovery of a target for treatment that belongs in a particular phenotype, subphenotype of that blindly cluster group of people. So you get a random draw of the population, and you genotype it. You know what it, but the phenotype is going to depend on so many things. So you have to utilize new techniques that we have in place to automatically and blindly discover the clusters, the stratification of that random draw of the population. And then underlying that, you see what the genotype is, and you can understand better what the targeted treatment should be for that. But that's not the way it's being done. It's just being imposed on it, these ADOS criteria. So, and the interesting thing is that what that gave us was thousands and thousands of ADOS scores that we could then analyze. And that's where I realized how fundamentally flawed the statistics behind this test are. And that's a very important thing, because it does create room for false positives, inflating the whole diagnostic outcome, right? And so we get the false positives in more than one way, not only from the flawed statistics, underlying statistical assumptions of this test, which confounds bias and sensitivity. And we also get it from the imposed notion that we have on the genomics data. And so all the money that went into that for nothing. We just didn't make any progress, and it took away from going into the behavioral analysis that is of the kind that is considered the endogenous activity of the child and of the social environment in which that child is receiving the intervention. So that kind of, and by the way, I want to make sure that I say this right. The word behavior is different in different fields. So when you speak of behavior, it's not a bad behavior or inappropriate behavior. It's just how we naturally interact with the environment and control.
And observable. You're talking about observables.